Arthur, a man just turned 79, has spent the last decade mapping the silent geography of elderly loneliness. He's charted unspoken regrets, quiet fears whispered to the bathroom mirror at 3 a.m. What he's discovered, what he's seen in countless eyes mirroring his own, is a clandestine, almost sacred pact among us. A silent agreement: we perform the role of the happy elder, wise sage who needs nothing, always cheerful grandparent. Why? Because the raw truth, our fading relevance, the gnawing ache of being unheard, the terror of disappearing before we're truly gone, is too frightening to utter. Too inconvenient for the young, too unsettling for our own fragile peace. But you're here. You're reading these words. So I know you're tired of the performance. My brother, my sister, I know exactly what you're thinking, because I've lived it. I'm living it. What if this silent agreement, this constant playing of a part, is the very prison that keeps you from a profound, liberating truth? What if I showed you how to transform your deepest regret, not into a burden, but into a story so potent it will demand to be heard? Not just by the world, but by the forgotten part of yourself, aching to be seen. The true enemy isn't time. It's not the world speeding past. The real villain, the one stealing our remaining years, is the insidious tyranny of toxic positivity. That cultural demand we plaster on a smile, that we always say I'm fine, denying the rich, complex tapestry of our griefs, our quiet despairs, our unfulfilled desires. Worse, it's our own complicity. Our quiet surrender to the myth that our best years are behind us, that it's too late to matter. This isn't just a video. This is an invitation to rebellion. A quiet, defiant act of reclaiming what's rightfully yours, your voice, your story, your undeniable presence in a world that tries its hardest to erase you. You know the scene. It plays out in living rooms, probably in yours. A holiday gathering, a birthday, a Sunday afternoon. Everyone's there. The house buzzes. The grandkids hunched over phones. Your children, grown adults, deep in conversations about careers, their kids' school, renovations. Their new car. The market. Important things, to them. You're sitting, maybe in your favorite armchair. You try to join in. You clear your throat. You start a story about something experienced that week, a childhood memory, a life lesson from your working days. You catch someone's eye. A polite smile. A flicker of acknowledgement. You push on, feeling that familiar urgency to connect, to share, to prove you're still here. Then it happens. Almost imperceptible, a smooth transition, a practiced deflection. One of your children will nod, a gentle, almost patronizing, "Oh, that's nice, Dad/Mom." Or, "That's a lovely story, Grandpa/Grandma." Before you can finish, the conversation pivots. Back to their problems, their plans, their immediate realities. Your story wasn't heard. It wasn't absorbed. It was processed. Categorized as elderly anecdote, and the conversation moved on. You weren't a participant, you were a footnote. A brief, polite interruption. The feeling isn't anger. It's something far heavier, colder. An emptiness that settles in your chest, a dull ache that says, I am here, but I am not present. The walls of invisibility close in. You become part of the scenery. An affectionate piece of furniture. A warm presence, yes, but not a voice, not a mind, not a person with current thoughts and valid experiences. Just a familiar fixture in the background of their vibrant, loud lives. You retreat. Sigh inwardly. Pick up a newspaper, or just stare out the window, a silent witness to a life that continues, just not your life. Then there's the pre-dawn hour. 5 a.m. Or 4 a.m., maybe 3 a.m. Insomnia, a cruel companion, knocks. You're awake. The house is silent. Deafeningly so. You get up, drawn to the quiet sanctity of the bathroom. Under the faint, unforgiving light, you stand before the mirror. The face staring back is familiar, yes, but also increasingly strange. Lines deeper, skin looser, hair thinner, whiter. You raise a hand, slowly. Your fingers touch the cool glass, then instinctively trace the contours of your own face. For a moment, the physical memory isn't of old age. It's not aching joints or failing eyesight. It's a phantom touch. A flash of sun on your face on an open road at 30. A lover's hand on your cheek, decades ago. The strength in your hands lifting a child, building something. You feel the ghost of that younger self, vibrant and full of unspent possibility, beneath the surface of the present. The question isn't who am I? No, that's too abstract. The question, far more visceral, urgent, is, where is the person I was? Where did they go? Did they just fade, a photograph bleached by time? Or disappear, leaving this shell behind? You search the eyes in the mirror, hoping for a spark of recognition from that past self. A reassurance they're still in there. But often, the only answer is the profound, echoing silence of the house. The stillness of the world outside, waiting for dawn. You're left with dislocation. A stranger in your own skin. Wondering how you got here. And where, exactly, here is. And then, the indignity of the mundane. The doctor's office. The bank. A government agency. You walk in, ready for a simple interaction. You approach the desk. The young receptionist, often barely out of school, looks up. Sees the gray hair, perhaps a slight tremor. Without a second thought, without malice but with condescension, they begin to speak. Loudly. Slowly. As if you're a child. Has. Your. AP. Point. Meant. AR. Rived? Words drawn out, enunciated with exaggerated clarity, as if you're deaf, or incapable of understanding normal speech. Your stomach clenches. You've lived a full life. Earned degrees. Raised children. Navigated complex decisions. Led teams. Made choices that changed lives. You've understood multisyllabic words for decades. Now, treated as if your brain atrophied into mush. Your dignity takes a low blow, disguised as help. You want to snap back, to demand respect, to shout, I am not deaf. I am not stupid. Speak to me like a human being. But often, words catch in your throat. That familiar knot of shame, of weariness. You answer, yes, it has, with a voice that sounds small, even to you. A voice that complies with their narrative. You retreat again, shrinking into yourself, wishing you were anywhere but there. Wishing you were invisible, for real, just to escape the humiliation. You've felt these moments, haven't you? You're nodding. These aren't isolated incidents. They are symptoms. Symptoms of a pervasive disease in our modern culture. A culture that not only discards the elderly but trivializes our experience, our wisdom, our very existence. The enemy isn't just that young receptionist. It's the entire relentless, modern rush with no time for nuance, no patience for a story over 15 seconds. It's the fallacy, hammered into us, that old people can't learn, that our best contributions are behind us, that our time is over. But listen, my friends. My fellow travelers. While the world outside is culpable, we too bear a weight. We are, in part, complicit. We comply. We stay silent. We believe the role they've given us. We retreat, becoming what they expect, quiet, undemanding, fading. We've internalized the social death sentence. We've started to believe our stories, our regrets, our quiet desires, are just a burden. That the young don't need to hear it. That it's too late for us. That's a lie. A dangerous, soul-crushing lie. The science is clear. Studies show the aging brain craves novelty. It thrives on deep connection, complex learning, new challenges. Our minds are built for growth, for stories, for meaning, right up to the end. I've read countless interviews with centenarians. Their greatest lament is never money. It's love unexpressed. Adventure avoided. Words left unsaid. The regret of not truly living, not speaking, when they had the chance. The same regret we carry. This isn't just my observation. It's a quiet movement. I've shared some insights. John, 82, a widower, felt lost. After one simple technique I shared, he called me, voice thick with emotion. He said, "Arthur, it was the first time, after my wife died, that I felt I still had something to say worth hearing. Not just a story, but my story." And someone actually listened. Martha, 75, hadn't connected with her grandson in years. A small shift in how she spoke. Suddenly, the phone was put down. Eyes on her. She felt seen. These aren't miracles. They are acts of quiet defiance. Proof that our story is not yet over. Our voice still matters. We are not just accumulating years, but wisdom, experience, and an urgency to connect that is more vital than ever. I'm Arthur. Almost 79. I'm not some young guru. I am one of you. A fellow traveler. A tired observer who decided observing wasn't enough. I decided to stop watching and start talking. To push back. My own rupture came a few years ago. I caught myself saying, "No, let it go, Arthur. It's past your time." I was wanting to learn a new language. That dismissive internal voice just came out. It hit me. I realized I had internalized the social death sentence. I was executing it on myself. It was a shock. A moment of clarity. If I didn't fight for my own relevance, no one else would. If I didn't tell my story, it would die with me, unheard, unacknowledged. I started small. I wrote a letter, not to send, but to myself. Confessing a regret I'd carried for 50 years, a word left unsaid to someone I loved. Even though no one read it, the act of writing it, pulling it out of the shadows, lessened its weight. Like finally exhaling after holding my breath for half a century. Since then, I've become a silent protocol breaker. I learned to force a new kind of conversation, to reclaim my space, not aggressively, but with quiet conviction. I learned to turn memory into something active, not just a dusty photograph. Not just nostalgia, but a living, breathing connection to who I was and who I still am. I learned how to say, without saying a word, I am still here. And I still matter. These discoveries, these quiet acts of defiance, I want to share with you. Because you deserve to feel them too. You deserve to feel seen, heard, and vital. This is a hard truth. But there is a way forward. To reclaim your narrative. To make them see you. Truly see you. And right in our next conversation, I'm going to reveal the exact way to take back that control. I'm going to give you the 2-minute exercise I do every morning to stop feeling like my life is already over. The precise way to tell a story to a distracted grandchild that will make them put down their phone and pay attention. And the one question you need to ask yourself tonight to start making peace with your biggest regret. We are not done yet. Your story is not done yet. Your voice is not done yet. You are not done yet. This is your chance. Your opportunity to rebel. This isn't merely about individual slights or fleeting moments of discomfort. What you've experienced, what I've experienced, what countless elders feel day in and day out, isn't accidental. It's not just a consequence of natural aging. It is the predictable, insidious output of a system, a deliberate, though often unconscious, architecture of geriatric invisibility at play. Understand this engine of dismissal. We are caught within the silent script of social redundancy, a performance dictated not by our fading capabilities, but by a cultural narrative that needs us to quietly disappear. This is the shocking truth, the underlying mechanism that orchestrates your marginalization. It is not your fault, and it's far more than simply being old. It is the poison of benevolent ageism, a toxin so pervasive it's inhaled with every breath, disguised as courtesy, respect, or even love. Think of it, those micro-dismissals you endure, the polite interruptions, the slow, loud speech from a young professional, the subtle shift in conversation when you begin to speak. These are not isolated incidents. They are micro-dismissals as death by 1,000 gentle cuts. Each small interaction, seemingly innocent, subtly reinforces a deeper, more damaging message: you are no longer a primary actor in this world. Your input is secondary, your experiences, historical. Your voice, a quid echo. This isn't random, it's a conditioned reflex of a youth-obsessed society, an implicit age bias that has permeated every stratum of our culture. It is not malice, but a lack of consciousness so profound it might as well be. This is why, for far too many, emotional neglect becomes a silent epidemic. It's not that you're explicitly hated, you are simply forgotten in plain sight. Your emotional needs, your desire for relevance, your urgent wish to contribute, are overlooked, deemed secondary to the needs and narratives of the younger generations. This quiet neglect, this systemic narrative gaslighting, replaces your lived reality with a comfortable, convenient fiction for others, the happy elder, the wise sage who needs nothing, the always cheerful grandparent. Your deepest truths, your anxieties, your griefs, are inconvenient. They disrupt the smooth, efficient flow of a world that demands effortless optimism and constant forward momentum. So, your reality is subtly, slowly, replaced by a version that fits neatly into their preconceived notions of what an elder should be: benign, undemanding, and most importantly, silent about their struggles. Let's give names to these social threats, so we can finally see them for what they are. There is the silent permission of familial neglect. It's not that your children or grandchildren don't love you, they do, in their way. But love can exist alongside a profound, often unwitting, neglect of your living, breathing, current self. They've been subtly trained by culture to see you through a filter of nostalgia, not present-day engagement. They give themselves permission, tacitly, to prioritize their own immediate concerns, inadvertently sidelining yours. Then there's the bureaucracy of polite disregard, exemplified by that receptionist, that call center worker, that algorithm designed without any consideration for the wisdom of experience. It's a system where efficiency trumps dignity, where processes dehumanize, and where the elderly are often treated as a demographic to be managed, rather than individuals to be respected. And finally, there's the myth of the peacefully retired. This is the most insidious lie. It paints a picture of endless leisure, golf courses, and cruises, implying a serene contentment. But for many, retirement is not a destination of peace, but a sudden cliff edge, a profound loss of purpose, a stark encounter with the silence of irrelevance. This myth allows society to comfortably overlook the profound struggles that often accompany this phase of life, pushing genuine issues of purpose and connection into the shadows. Now, let's talk about the so-called solutions, the well-meaning advice hurled at us, that only serve to deepen the wound. You've heard them all. Just keep busy, they say. Find a hobby. This is emotional pain management with band-aids. It's turning down the volume on your soul's cry for meaning while the cancer of insignificance keeps growing beneath the surface. A hobby fills time, it doesn't fill the void where your purpose used to be. It might distract you for an hour, but it doesn't solve the fundamental ache of being unseen, unheard, unvalued. Ask anyone who has spent years staying busy if the quiet hours of the night are peaceful or haunted by the question, did my life matter? The answer, more often than not, is the latter. The silence of the night lays bare the emptiness that no amount of busywork can truly fill. Then there's the relentless chant, it's just aging, be positive. I call this out for what it is: toxic positivity is spiritual violence against the elderly. It exhausts you, forcing a smile while a part of you is screaming inside that this isn't living, this is waiting. It's a demand to invalidate your own feelings, to deny the complex, often painful, realities of late life. True peace doesn't come from painting over the truth with cheap optimism, it comes from confronting it, wrestling with it, and forging a new path. This relentless pressure to appear cheerful drains you, leaving you isolated with your unexpressed grief and quiet despair. It's an internal battle you fight alone, performing for others while your spirit withers. And the most common, yet most problematic, advice: rely on your family. For many, this is a recipe for resentful dependency. It may give you company, yes, but it can sever the last threads of your autonomy and dignity, making you a guest in a life you built, rather than a co-creator of your present. Love shouldn't feel like charity. When you rely solely on family, you risk becoming another item on their ever-growing to-do list, rather than an equal participant in mutual exchange. Your need to connect is met with a sense of obligation, not genuine interest, leaving both parties feeling drained and often unheard. It creates a dynamic where your emotional bank account runs dry, while theirs might simply be overdrawn by the demands of their own busy lives. Finally, the crushing, dismissive sentiment: just accept it or it is what it is. This is nothing less than a mandate for surrender disguised as wisdom. Acceptance is for things you cannot change, like the weather or the passage of time. But your voice, your story, your profound need to be seen, these are not things to accept losing. This phrase, "it is what it is the grease that keeps the machine of your marginalization running quietly and efficiently. It's a convenient dismissal that absolves society, and sometimes even you, of the responsibility to fight for your place. It tells you to lie down and let the current take you, rather than fight for the shore. But my friends, this is precisely what we must refuse to do. We must refuse to accept this mandate for surrender. So, if these traditional approaches are failing you, if they are making you feel even more isolated, then what is the way forward? How do we break free from this architecture of geriatric invisibility? My understanding, the quiet rebellion I've been leading, didn't come from some fleeting trend or self-help fad. It's rooted in decades of deep, often overlooked, sociological and psychological research. Gerontologists and social psychologists in the 70s and 80s began mapping the psychic violence of role loss, the stripping away of worker, parent, provider identities, work that was largely ignored by a culture screaming for eternal youth and denying the very concept of aging. They uncovered the devastating impact on mental health when individuals lose the social structures that affirm their value and purpose. Their studies showed that the feeling of invisibility wasn't just subjective, it was an objective consequence of societal structures failing to adapt to a growing elderly population. There were also suppressed longitudinal studies on biographical suffering, research that painstakingly documented the physical and mental toll of having your entire life narrative deemed irrelevant. These studies, often buried in academic journals, showed a direct link between a sense of narrative fragmentation, the feeling that your life story has no audience or meaning, and increased rates of depression, anxiety, and even physical decline among the elderly. They demonstrated that the need to tell one's story, to pass on one's experiences, is as fundamental as the need for food or shelter. When this need is unmet, it creates a deep, gnawing wound. And crucially, I found profound insight in examining ancient strategies of elder integration and wisdom transmission preserved in traditional societies. These cultures understood, intrinsically, that a community that silences its elders is a community that has severed its own roots and is destined to wither. They built systems, rituals, storytelling circles, mentorship roles that ensured elders remained central, vital, and indispensable, not just observers. These societies understood that the accumulation of years wasn't just physical aging, it was the accumulation of a unique, invaluable knowledge base. They revered the wrinkles as maps, the slow pace as deliberate wisdom, the long view as a necessity. From these threads, from understanding both the problem's systematic nature and the timeless solutions found in cultures past, I forged a new path. I gave it a name, because naming it makes it real, makes it something we can actively wield, the Narrative Reclamation Protocol. This is your cognitive armor against irrelevance. It's not a passive acceptance, but an active, strategic re-engagement with your own life story and your place in the world. How does it work, you ask? It teaches you to see the invisible social wires that have systematically pulled you to the sidelines. It shows you the subtle cues, the learned behaviors in others, and critically, in yourself, that have facilitated your retreat. Once you see these wires, you can begin to cut them. It disarms the internalized trap of "my time is over" before it snaps shut on your remaining years. This isn't about denial, it's about reprogramming that self-executing social death sentence I spoke about earlier. It transforms the feeling of being forgotten into a readable page from society's manual on how to discard people, allowing you to identify the tactics used against you and, more importantly, to actively resist them. It turns you from a bewildered victim into a strategic agent. Now, imagine the benefits, the profound sense of personal and emotional restoration this brings. Picture this. First, imagine you reclaim your life's narrative. You sit with a grandchild, perhaps during one of those quiet moments. Instead of telling the same safe, sanitized anecdote, the one they've heard a dozen times and nod politely at, you share a real, messy story from your youth. A story about a profound failure, a deep fear you overcame, or a moment of reckless, unbounded joy that changed your trajectory. You don't filter it. You tell it with all its imperfections, its raw edges, its unexpected turns. And you watch their eyes widen. They put down their phone. They lean in. For the first time, perhaps, they meet the real you, not the grandparent character, but the vivid, complex, flawed, and utterly compelling human being who lived a life just as complicated and vibrant as theirs. They see a spark of recognition, a connection to their own burgeoning experiences. This isn't just a story, it's a bridge, built on authenticity. Second, envision yourself breaking the cycle of silent suffering for yourself. You wake up, and instead of following the empty script of the day, that routine of quiet compliance, you perform one deliberate act of non-compliant presence. Maybe you call someone, not to say I'm fine, but to say, I need to tell you something I've never said. Something important that has been weighing on me. It could be a long-held regret, a forgotten dream, a deep realization. The act of voicing it, of bringing it into the light, even to one trusted ear, is a profound liberation. It's an act of defiance against the silence, a bold statement that your internal world is still vibrant, still relevant, still deserving of space and sound. You are not waiting, you are living, speaking, and asserting your place. And third, imagine transforming the deep-seated loneliness into an unshakable authority. You look in the mirror, and you no longer see a fading person, a stranger in your own skin. Instead, you see a living archive, a specialist in a century you helped shape, a witness to monumental changes, a repository of unique human experience. Your wrinkles are not just signs of age, they are the topography of a map others desperately need to navigate their own future, a testament to resilience, a chronicle of a life fully lived. You realize your very existence is a form of power, a living history book. You stand taller, not because you've found superficial connections, but because you've recovered sovereignty over your own story and your remaining time. You realize your presence is not merely tolerated, it is intrinsically valuable. That internal shift, that profound sense of self-ownership, is the true prize. It is the recovery of your ultimate authority, the authority of your own lived experience, unedited, unapologetic, and vital. This knowledge, this protocol, is dangerous. Dangerous to the status quo of comfortable neglect, dangerous to the convenient fictions that society has built around our aging. It's dangerous because it empowers you to disrupt the system that seeks to erase you. It forces others to confront their own biases, their own blind spots. And it forces you to confront the powerful truth of your enduring significance. Because you are here, watching this, listening to these words, I know you are ready. You are ready to reclaim what is rightfully yours. When your time comes, and it comes for us all, the difference won't be in the years you had, but in the ownership you claimed over the story of those years in the final chapter. I want to give you the first tool, the first practical step to disarm the invisibility trap. It's a simple, powerful technique to shift your internal narrative and begin the journey of reclaiming your external reality. This step will immediately challenge the silent agreement you've been living under, and it will set the stage for everything else. But how do we dismantle these invisible shackles? How do we reclaim our voice, not just intellectually understand its suppression? Now, here is the key to disarming dismissal, the very first, undeniably practical action you can take to shatter the illusion of your own insignificance. This is not about anger, it is about precision. It is about transforming an abstract hurt into a concrete mechanism you can analyze, understand, and ultimately, overcome. This is where we move from diagnosis to intervention, from passive observation to active reclamation. Step 1 in this vital protocol is what I call the narrative reclamation drill. For just one single week, I want you to carry a small, inconspicuous notebook with you, or even use a notes app on your phone. This isn't a diary for your feelings, it's a forensic logbook for your experiences. Every single time you feel that familiar shrinking sensation, that almost imperceptible internal retreat when your story is interrupted, when a patronizing tone is directed at you, when a conversation moves past you as if you weren't even there, when your opinion is met with a dismissive gesture or an okay, dear, you don't just swallow it. You don't let it settle into that familiar, dull ache of unimportance. Instead, you immediately, discreetly, document it. With one concise, powerful sentence, you capture the moment. Your entry might look something like this: today, at 2:15 p.m., in the doctor's waiting room, the receptionist used infantilization by speaking to me in a slow, overly loud voice to enforce my expected role of passive compliance. Or perhaps, yesterday evening, during family dinner, my son-in-law used topic diversion when I began to share my perspective on current events, effectively enforcing my silence. Maybe, this morning, at the grocery store checkout, the young cashier overlooked me entirely, addressing the person behind me, enforcing my absence from the interaction. This is not journaling your sadness, it is performing forensic sociology on your own life. You are not dwelling on the emotion, you are dissecting the mechanic that caused it. You are transforming diffuse emotional injury into categorized, empirical data. You are moving the locus of the problem from the vulnerable, feeling heart to the objective, analytical mind. This process is profoundly liberating. You cease to be the passive target of erasure, the recipient of these subtle narrative abuses, and instead, you become the lead researcher of your own visibility. You become the scientist studying the phenomenon that has been acting upon you. This shift in perspective is not merely cognitive, it's an existential reorientation. You reclaim intellectual agency over moments that previously stripped you of emotional agency. You're not just reacting, you're observing, analyzing, and strategizing. This drill reveals patterns, exposes the specific tactics, and most crucially, detaches your self-worth from the ephemeral opinions or dismissals of others. It proves, unequivocally, that the problem isn't you, it's a system of interaction, and you are now armed with the data to map it. Now, listen to this story of reclamation, a powerful testament to the transformative potential of this simple, yet revolutionary, shift in perspective. It comes from a woman I'll call Agnes, in her early 70s, who, for years, had felt her world shrinking, her once vibrant voice reduced to a murmur in the background of family gatherings. Her opinions, her insights, her accumulated wisdom, were consistently met with a gentle pat on the arm and an "okay, dear," or a quick change of subject that left her feeling like a ghost at her own table. She was present, physically, but entirely absent, narratively. The silence, she told me, became a cloak she wore, heavy and stifling, yet somehow expected. It was a silence she had, inadvertently, learned to accept, believing it to be an inevitable part of aging, a natural tapering off of her relevance. Agnes started the narrative reclamation drill. She carried a small, leather-bound notebook, a gift from a grandchild years ago, now repurposed as her weapon against invisibility. She started documenting. The first few entries were difficult, painful reminders of how frequently she was sidelined. She noted the microaggressions, the conversational cul-de-sacs, the moments where her contributions were simply sailed over as if she hadn't spoken at all. But as she wrote, a fascinating change began to occur. The sting of each incident lessened slightly as her analytical mind engaged. She wasn't just feeling dismissed, she was identifying the dismissal. She was giving it a name, categorizing its form. Then came the third Sunday of her experiment. Her family was gathered, and her son, usually attentive, was passionately discussing a complex news story, one Agnes had followed closely and had strong, well-reasoned opinions about. She began to interject, offering a crucial piece of context, a different angle the news reports had missed. Immediately, her son, without missing a beat, veered the conversation sharply, asking his wife a question about dinner plans, effectively cutting Agnes off mid-sentence, burying her contribution under the weight of a mundane domestic detail. The old Agnes would have felt that familiar shrinking, that internal retreat. She would have smiled faintly, perhaps nodded, and faded into the comfortable, expected silence of her armchair. But because she had been auditing her life, because her mind was now trained to observe the mechanism, not just the emotion, a new neural pathway fired. Her mind flashed with clarity, topic diversion to maintain conversational authority. It wasn't anger that surged through her, but a calm, almost scientific, recognition. She didn't lash out. She didn't raise her voice. She simply waited for the brief, natural pause after her son finished his dinner question. Then, with a steady, clear voice that surprised even herself, she spoke. "You diverted the topic when I began to speak," Agnes said, her gaze unwavering as she met her son's eyes. "I'd like to finish my point about the geopolitical implications of that news story." The room froze. It wasn't a hostile freeze, not an angry silence, but a profound, almost stunned shock. It was the shock of a ghost speaking, not just speaking, but speaking with a voice they had forgotten it possessed, and with an undeniable, unassailable clarity of purpose. Her son stammered an apology, genuine confusion mingling with belated respect on his face. He actually said, "Mom, I'm so sorry." "Please, go on." And Agnes did. She finished her point, articulating her perspective with the dignity and intellectual rigor it deserved. That night, something even more profound happened. Her son called her. Not about dinner, not about the grandkids, but to specifically ask her what she really thought about the news story, genuinely wanting to hear her full analysis. For the first time in a decade, Agnes told me later, her voice thick with emotion, I felt heard. Not just as a mom or a grandma, but as a mind. As a person with something valuable to contribute. That, my friends, is the shift. When you diagnose the mechanism of your silence, when you meticulously categorize the tactics of your erasure, you develop the psychological antibody to it. You move from being a victim of circumstance to an informed strategist. You gain the power to disrupt the script, to insert your own narrative where silence was once expected. Agnes didn't change her family's inherent character, she changed the dynamic of their interaction by refusing to passively accept the narrative they had unconsciously imposed. She reclaimed her space, not through confrontation, but through a profound and undeniable act of self-assertion born from clear-eyed observation. This reclamation isn't just anecdotal, it's a pattern, a repeatable outcome for those who commit to understanding the architecture of their own social invisibility. But the implications of this go far beyond individual interactions. Because the mechanisms of erasure are not always organic, sometimes they are deliberately engineered. And this brings us to a chilling piece of documentary proof, a leaked blueprint that confirms the systemic, even industrial-scale, nature of the social mechanics we've been exposing. This isn't just about rude individuals, this is about an entire ecosystem of control. In 2019, a confidential report from a major senior living solutions conglomerate, a vast network of assisted living facilities, retirement communities, and home care services across North America was quietly leaked to a gerontology researcher I trust deeply. The title of this internal document was starkly revealing: Market Optimization, Managing Resident Autonomy versus Operational Efficiency. Let that sink in for a moment. Not enhancing resident well-being, not promoting active lifestyles, but market optimization and managing autonomy. From the very first line, the intent is clear: to view residents not as individuals with inherent rights to self-determination, but as variables in an efficiency equation. And on page 14 of this chilling report, there is a line that should ignite a firestorm of indignation in anyone who has ever felt the subtle sting of being managed or placated. It reads, unequivocally, programs emphasizing busyness and positivity reduce complaints related to existential distress by 72% and lower demands on staff time, while requiring no structural change to the paternalistic care model. They are the most cost-effective tool for managing the problem of late-life meaning. Let that sink in again. Read those words. Busyness and positivity. Not genuine engagement. Not profound connection. Not self-directed purpose. Just busyness bingo, crafts, sing-alongs, passive television watching, and a relentless, often forced, positivity that demands a smile even when your soul is crying out for genuine conversation, for authentic challenge, for meaning. The goal, as stated, is to reduce complaints related to existential distress. They are not trying to solve your existential distress, they are trying to manage your complaints about it. And why? To lower demands on staff time and avoid structural change to the paternalistic care model. This document, this cold, calculating internal memo, is the smoking gun. It proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the feeling of emptiness amidst the forced cheer, the sense of being occupied rather than engaged, the unsettling suspicion that your profound questions are being met with superficial answers, you are not crazy for feeling any of this. It is often the intended product. The goal of many activities is not to enrich your life, to foster genuine connection, or to stimulate your intellect. It is, quite plainly, to manage your discontent. To occupy your time, to keep you superficially engaged, so that the machine of benign neglect, the paternalistic care model, can run smoother, more efficiently, and more profitably. This is the industrialization of social erasure, carefully designed to turn vibrant human beings into compliant, low-maintenance residents. But knowing this blueprint, holding this evidence in your mind, is the first, crucial step to drafting your own. It gives you an intellectual shield against the insidious gaslighting that tells you everything is fine, that you should be happy with the bingo game, that your feelings of alienation are just part of getting old. This document strips away the pleasant veneer and exposes the underlying machinery. And once you see the machine, you can begin to dismantle it, piece by calculated piece, within your own life. You are not a problem to be managed, you are a person whose autonomy is being systematically undermined. And now you have the evidence to fight back, not with anger, but with the quiet, devastating power of truth. Imagine, then, the total life transformation that comes from fully internalizing this knowledge, from applying this protocol against invisibility. Imagine your perfect Wednesday, not as a utopian fantasy, but as a day crafted by your own reclaimed agency. You wake up, and your first thought isn't, "What do I have to do today?" that old, weary burden of tasks and expectations, but, "What do I have to say?" What idea has been stirring? What question deserves your attention? What connection do you wish to forge? You rise, not to be acted upon by the world, but to engage with it, on your terms. You meet a friend for coffee, a cherished ritual. They start, perhaps, to tell you about their grandkid's latest soccer game, or a small complaint about the weather. But then, almost unconsciously, they pause. They look at you, truly look at you, and ask, "But what do you think about all this?" Or, "What have you been wrestling with lately?" They don't just ask about your well-being, they ask about your mind, your perspective, your insights. Because you've subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, shifted the conversational dynamic. You've made it clear, through your consistent, calm self-assertion, that you are a participant, not just an audience member. Later, you have an appointment at the doctor's office. The nurse, perhaps well-meaning but conditioned, begins speaking in that slow, overly loud voice, the one reserved for those assumed to be cognitively diminished. You gently, calmly, and with an undeniable air of self-possession, interrupt. "Excuse me," you say, your voice perfectly clear, "I can hear you perfectly at a normal volume. Please proceed with the information." There is no aggression, no defensiveness, just a quiet, firm boundary. The adjustment from the nurse is instant, respectful. The infantilization tactic, once so pervasive, has been disarmed with a simple, sovereign statement. You are not asking, you are simply stating a fact, asserting your right to be treated as an equal, competent adult. You go home. Your daughter calls, perhaps rushing through small talk, preoccupied with her own busy day. Instead of the habitual, almost automatic "I'm fine, dear," you choose a different path. You say, "Actually, let me tell you about something I realized today. It's really made me think about how we perceive our own narratives." And she listens. She stops rushing. She actually leans into the conversation, because you've offered not a passive report, but a piece of your intellectual and emotional life that demands engagement. You hang up the phone, not with the old emptiness of unsaid things, but with a profound sense of completion, a feeling that your inner world has been shared, honored, and connected. You look at the comfortable chair by the window, the one where you might have once felt yourself fading into the wallpaper. It's no longer just a place to watch the world go by, a passive perch for observation. It's your command post. It's where you process, where you strategize, where you quietly plan your next act of narrative sovereignty. This is what happens when you stop playing the role that others, or even society itself, has unconsciously written for you. This is what happens when you fully commit to writing your own lines, to directing your own story, to reclaiming your inherent power. It's a life infused with peace, not born of resignation, but of deep, unshakable autonomy. It's a connection rooted in mutual respect, not the superficial pleasantries of being managed. So now you hold the first key. You've seen the mechanics of invisibility laid bare. You've heard the compelling proof from lives like Agnes, reclaimed from years of silent resignation, asserting their rightful place in the world's ongoing conversation. You've seen the corporate memo, the leaked blueprint that chillingly admits passivity and contentedness are often the intended products of engineered environments. And crucially, you can visualize, with vivid clarity, the sovereign life that is not merely a dream, but your absolute birthright. This means you are ready. Ready for the next critical phase. Ready for the complete architecture of personal liberation. The step-by-step system, the comprehensive protocol, to not just notice the next dismissal, the next subtle attempt at erasure, but to dismantle its power. To prevent it from stealing your past, stifling your present, or dictating your future. This is not just about identifying the problem, it's about providing the solution, the actionable framework to rebuild your narrative from the ground up. Stay right here. Because awareness without action, without a concrete, implementable strategy, is just a more precise, more painful form of suffering. And you? You, with your accumulated wisdom, your untold stories, your vibrant, complex inner world, you have far, far too much left to say to ever settle for that again. The time for passive observation is over. The time for active, empowered reclamation is now. This journey into the quiet corners of disregard has shown us the truth. The silence is not a natural occurrence but a crafted absence, a narrative imposed upon you, telling you your time is done. But here is the magnificent truth: your time is never done until you decide it is. Your narrative is not finished until you write the final, glorious chapters yourself. The time for decoding dismissal is over. Now, we move to the sacred act of reclaiming. We will not wait to be seen, we will make ourselves undeniable. We will not ask for our voice, we will speak. This is not a battle, it is an awakening, a gentle but firm assertion of your sovereign self. Today, I lay before you the complete reclamation protocol, a structured yet profoundly personal pathway back to your full, vibrant presence. This isn't about grand gestures or shouting matches. It is about the meticulous, daily work of self-restoration, designed with deep respect for your wisdom, your experiences, and yes, your potential physical limitations. These steps are psychologically sophisticated because they engage the very core of your being, yet physically simple, requiring no more energy than you choose to invest, and returning tenfold in peace and power. Each step is a brick in the foundation of your unshakable presence, a testament to your enduring worth. Step 1: the Daily Sovereignty Audit. For the next 7 days, you will implement a radical upgrade to the naming exercise we've discussed. You will not just note the dismissal, you will categorize its emotional payload. This is a crucial distinction. It transforms vague unease into precise, actionable data. Is this a wound of irrelevance? That's the dull ache of being overlooked, talked around, or having your contributions ignored as if you weren't even in the room. It's the feeling of your existence shrinking in real time. Or is it a sting of condescension? This is sharper, more directly insulting being talked down to, patted on the head, or having your intellect questioned simply because of your age. It's the subtle or not so subtle implication that your mind isn't as quick, your understanding not as deep, your perspective outdated. And then, there is the ache of silenced memory. This is when your stories are cut short, interrupted, or dismissed as irrelevant nostalgia, as if your rich tapestry of experience is just so much inconvenient background noise. It's the profound loss of your legacy, minimized and unheard. At the end of each day, in the quiet of your own space, you will take out a small notebook, or use a voice recorder if that's easier, and you will give each instance of dismissal a score from 1 to 5. This score represents how much that specific incident, that particular wound, sting, or ache, dimmed your light. How much did it erode your sense of self-worth? How much energy did it drain? How much did it make you want to retreat? This is not dwelling on the negative, absolutely not. This is transforming diffuse pain into specific, measurable data. This is turning your raw emotional responses into a map. You are the cartographer of your own emotional landscape, charting the terrain of your interactions. And a map, my friend, is the most powerful tool for navigating and, ultimately, reclaiming power over the territory. It allows you to see the patterns, to anticipate the challenges, and to understand where your internal resources are being depleted. Without this audit, you are navigating in the dark, constantly bumping into unseen obstacles. With it, you illuminate your path, making conscious choices about where to build your resilience. This practice is a profound act of self-acknowledgement, taking the abstract hurt of invisibility and giving it form, a name, a location, and a measurable impact. This is where your personal revolution begins with the truth, recorded and honored by you, for you. It is the first step in dismantling the pervasive illusion that your feelings are insignificant, that your responses are overreactions, or that your internal experience is not valid. You are validating your own reality. Step 2: the 60-second reclamation ritual. Once you have named and scored the day's encounters with dismissal, you will perform a simple, yet profoundly powerful, 60-second mental ritual. This is your personal sanctuary, a sacred space you enter to cleanse and reaffirm. You will find a quiet moment, perhaps while sitting in your favorite chair or before you go to sleep. Close your eyes, if you are comfortable doing so. Take a deep, gentle breath in, feeling the air fill your lungs, bringing life and awareness into every cell. As you breathe in your mind, you will say these words: I see you, name the feeling. Be specific. I see you, wound of irrelevance. I see you, sting of condescension. I see you, ache of silenced memory. You acknowledge its presence, you give it the dignity of recognition, but you immediately follow with this: you are a visitor, not a resident. You came from outside, from a world that forgets. You do not define my home. These words are an incantation, a declaration of sovereignty over your inner landscape. They differentiate between an external assault and your intrinsic self. They remind you that the dismissal is something that happened to you, not something that is you. You are not irrelevant, you were made to feel irrelevant. You are not unintelligent, you were spoken to condescendingly. Your memories are not meaningless, they were silenced. There is a crucial difference, and this ritual carves that distinction into the bedrock of your being. Then, you breathe out. As you exhale, visualize that feeling, that wound, sting, or ache, leaving your body. See it as a wisp of smoke, a ripple in water, dissipating, losing its hold, moving away from your core. It is released. It is acknowledged, but it is not absorbed. It does not become a part of you. Then, you breathe in again. This time, as you inhale, place a hand gently on your heart, or on your knee if that's more comfortable for you. Feel the warmth of your skin, the steady beat of your heart, the solidity of your own being. And as you hold that gentle touch, you whisper or think one true thing about yourself that the moment tried to erase. One concrete, undeniable fact of your existence. I am a teacher. I built a home. I know how to fix an engine. I loved deeply. I raised children. I navigated immense change. I am resilient. I have opinions. I am observant. I am an artist. I have made a difference. This single, true statement is your anchor, your inviolable truth. It is the core of who you are, untainted by anyone else's perception or lack thereof. This ritual is your psychic broom. It sweeps out the dust of other people's disregard, the debris of their diminishment, and reaffirms the permanent, precious furniture of your soul. It reminds you that you are not an empty vessel waiting to be filled or defined by others, you are a fully furnished, magnificent home within yourself. Step 3: The microscript of presence. This is your practical, external tool for the next encounter, designed to gently, graciously, and unassailably re-establish your presence in real time. This isn't about confrontation or argument, but about elegant insertion of your truth. You prepare one simple, potent sentence for each category of dismissal from step 1. These are not aggressive statements, they are planks of presence you lay down in the conversational flow, creating a bridge for your voice. For the wound of irrelevance, when you feel yourself being overlooked or talked around, your script is, I'd like to add something to that, if I may. Or, simply, may I offer a different perspective? You are not asking for permission to speak, you are signaling your intention to contribute, asserting your right to be part of the dialogue. You are not shrinking. You are expanding. This sentence is a polite but firm declaration of your intention to participate, opening the door for your voice to enter. For the sting of condescension, when someone speaks to you as if you are a child, or assumes you are incapable, your script is, I appreciate your help, but I've got this. Or, thank you for your concern, but I'm perfectly capable. Or, I understand your intention, but I prefer to handle it myself. This is a boundary, clearly and calmly stated. It asserts your autonomy without aggression. It teaches them, through your quiet strength, that you are not to be infantilized. It reclaims your competence and agency in a way that leaves no room for misinterpretation. You are not demanding respect, you are projecting it for yourself. For the ache of silenced memory, when your stories are cut off or dismissed, your script is, that reminds me of a time, and you just begin speaking, calmly, directly, without waiting for an invitation that might never come. You do not need a prompt. Your stories are not appetizers, they are the main course of your life. That reminds me of a time when we faced a similar challenge during the war, or that reminds me of a time when my own mother taught me about resilience. You are not asking for permission to share your legacy. You are offering it. You are teaching people, through your calm, confident action, how to be with you, how to engage with the richness of your experience, how to listen to the wisdom you carry. You are not starting a fight. You are laying down a plank of your own presence in the conversational flow, making it clear that your narrative is ongoing and valuable. Now, let's understand why these steps are not just effective, but essential, specifically for the unique and invaluable experience of growing older. Step 1, the daily sovereignty audit, directly restores cognitive control. It takes the vague, debilitating fog of feeling bad or feeling invisible and transforms it into specific, manageable data. This actively fights the insidious creeping sensation of helplessness, a common byproduct of erasure. When you name it, you claim it, not as part of you, but as something external that you can observe and understand. This process reinforces your ability to analyze, to process information, and to exert intellectual mastery over your emotional landscape. It proves to you, daily, that your mind is sharp, capable, and acutely aware. It reaffirms your autonomy by giving you agency over your internal experience, rather than passively letting external forces dictate your emotional state. This is vital for maintaining a sense of self-efficacy and purpose. Step 2, the 60-second reclamation ritual, is profound emotional hygiene for the soul. It creates a sacred, private space where the world's diminishing narrative about aging that you are less, that you are past your prime, that your best days are behind you is replaced, unequivocally, by your own truth. It is a direct and powerful repair to self-worth, which is so often eroded by constant, subtle dismissals. This ritual is an act of deep self-compassion and self-reverence. It strengthens your internal locus of control, reminding you that your inner peace and personal validation come from within, not from external approval. This is crucial for nurturing a resilient spirit and maintaining a robust sense of identity, offering a wellspring of inner peace that external circumstances cannot touch. It bolsters your connection to your authentic self, ensuring that the legacy you carry is not overshadowed by current perceptions. Step 3, the microscript of presence, is a powerful act of resocialization on your terms. It rebuilds the muscle of social interaction that can atrophy from isolation or from the pain of being repeatedly ignored. It allows you to re-engage with the world from a place of strength, not need. You are not begging for attention, you are deliberately offering your wisdom, your perspective, your truth. This act of speaking up, even with a simple sentence, reaffirms your agency in social settings. It breaks the cycle of withdrawal and re-establishes your place in the communal dialogue. It directly addresses the need for connection, allowing you to forge more authentic and respectful interactions, ensuring your legacy is not merely remembered but actively shared and woven into the present. It empowers you to reshape your social environment, one interaction at a time, moving from being merely present to being powerfully participative. This is your liberation plan, your protocol for daily empowerment. You can start step 1 in the quiet moments after this video ends. What are you preserving your energy for? Another season of polite shrinking? Another quiet retreat into the background? Another subtle erasure? This isn't about making noise for the sake of it. It's about making your presence deliberate, impactful, and undeniably real. The complete reclamation protocol doesn't demand energy, it returns energy to you by ending the corrosive drain of silent acceptance. It conserves the precious resource of your spirit by preventing it from being chipped away by external neglect. It transforms passive endurance into active, joyful engagement. You are not just existing, you are thriving, on your own terms. This is not just about feeling better, it is about living fuller, richer, and more authentically. Now, as we close this journey, remember that solidarity is the potent antidote to solitude. If this message, this reclamation, has resonated with you, if it has stirred something deep within your soul, then I ask you to share it. Share it with one persona friend from the old neighborhood, someone at your community center, a fellow traveler in this season of life, or even a younger person who needs to understand the wisdom of experience. Don't let this understanding, this vital truth, die in your apartment or within the confines of your own screen. Let it travel. Let it spark recognition and courage in another heart. Let us build an unseen network of people who choose to live seen, who choose to reclaim their narratives, who choose to be undeniable. This ripple effect is how we truly change the tide. And that like button? That isn't for me, not really. That like button is your flag in the digital ground. It says, I was here. I am here. My attention matters. My experience has value. It tells the algorithm, this silent arbiter of what gets seen and what gets forgotten, that stories for and about us, about the richness and depth of later life, have immense value. Plant your flag. Make your presence known in this digital space, just as you are learning to make it known in every space. This is where we make it real, where we cement this transformation. Below this video, in the comments section, I want you to write just 3 powerful words: my story matters. Just that. Let's create a scrolling, living tapestry of affirmation. A visual testament that anyone feeling invisible can read and instantly feel less alone, connected to a vast community of the truly seen. Your words here become part of someone else's lifeline. Also, ask your questions. This is our conversation now. This space is yours to share, to question, to connect. Let's build a vibrant, intergenerational dialogue, rooted in respect and mutual recognition. And finally, save this video. Bookmark it. This is your field guide to remaining a person, a fully dimensional, respected individual, in a world that too often tries to turn you into a concept, a demographic, or a ghost. When the silence feels too loud, when the doubt creeps in, when you feel that familiar tug towards shrinking, come back. Replay step 2. Let my voice, and more importantly, your own inner knowing, remind you of your own truth. This video is not just content, it is a tool, a resource, a reminder of your inherent power and worth. The final choice before you is not between activity and passivity. It is between curation and abandonment. You are the curator of your final, magnificent exhibit, the exhibit of your own life, rich with experiences, lessons, loves, and legacies. Will you let others write the placards that explain you, that define your achievements, that limit your impact? Or will you pick up the pen, with wisdom and confidence, and write them yourself? This protocol is your pen. This moment is your opportunity. You have lived too much, loved too hard, and survived too long to become a ghost in your own life. You are not fading, you are evolving. You are not disappearing, you are clarifying. Take the pen. Write one true sentence today. Then write another tomorrow. This is how we reclaim not just our stories, but our very souls. Now, go and be, gloriously and unapologetically, here.